This program is presented by Community Television. A simulcast can be found on WRFP-LP 101.9 FM.
Welcome to the Chippewa Valley Sustainable Future Festival. Gigi Staffney presents Take a Walk on the Wild Side, Common Medicinals and Wild Edibles in Your Community.
Gigi invites you to join her with the program with open hearts, heads, and hands. Welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Oh, welcome everyone. Wow, I see we have master gardeners in the group, herbalists, and wilders. Do you know what I mean when I say wilders? Anybody identify as a wilder? I don't even like all of those titles anymore. Yeah. I just say, I'm a wilder. I'm a wilder, that works. Thank you. It's really fun to be back here. Actually, Eau Claire is one of my hometowns, and I moved away from this place about, in year 2000. But this was one of the areas where I ran a natural medicine clinic years ago. So it is really fun to be back here presenting. Let's see. So we only have about 50 minutes together, and I keep teasing Joel, our wonderful, wonderful film person, that he's going to have to follow me and us around if he wants us on videotape, because we're going to start out in here talking about some of the plants of the ecosystem, like in your backyards, the woods, the fields, the forests around here. And then those of you who are interested and able and have the desire can put your hiking shoes on or go barefoot and follow me across the field to the woods about midway through our program. All right, and some of us may meander in the woods a bit, so I just would like to say that on the front end. You can come with us and then run back to your next workshop, or you can hang out in the woods with me for a while and we can talk more intimately about plants when we're out there, all right? Okay, so in 50 minutes, wow. This is a sustainability fair, and I just so appreciate being here representing Herbalists Without Borders and United Plant Savers and a lot of the big green herbalism national and international groups. So if you have questions about those groups, please ask through the presentation. I said that it's going to be Take a Walk on the Wild Side, a plant ID walk, but I will talk to you about access to healthcare too, if you want to, for sure. I'm right by Mary, and she's a good one to be pointing the poster out. I also want to give a little pitch for our fundraiser for Herbalists Without Borders on Friday night by the Ice Age Center in northern Wisconsin. We're having global flautist Peter Phippen and our friend from Eau Claire play and do a concert for us. So, all right, so taking a walk on the wild side. This is about sustainability, this 50 minutes. And it is also about what I call down to the ground green medicine. There are a lot of workshops being presented throughout the whole day on sustainability, and I noticed there are a few on food. That's fantastic. It's really my hope to get people to make the connection with why to buy local foods and grow local foods along with green medicines. So the green medicine movement, botanical medicine, herbalism, I feel like we're having to do a little work like this to pull people along, to really understand why, to get to know your plants more intimately in your backyard and woods and use those as primary foods and as primary medicines. So that will be my thrust today, definitely. So there are lots of global solutions that we could discuss about botanical medicine, herbalism. I'm just going to toss out one statistic. And this is WHO, the World Health Organization. It's from last year. Did you know that 7/8 of the world's people are still using plant medicines as primary medicines? That's a lot. Here in the United States and in Western cultures, we tend to think it is all about allopathic medicine or conventional modern medicine, and indeed it is, but in places like Cuba, for example, in 2000 I brought students there and some healthcare workers. That's a country with a good example of integrated medicine. So fantastic laser surgery for the eyes, really the forerunners in laser surgery. And also, if you go into some of the little neighborhood pharmacies, you will see little bottles like the blue one, right? On the display table, lots of herbal remedies along with the allopathic medicines. So, in my mind and heart, in an ideal world, we'd have both. We'd walk into every community, whether a rural area or an urban center, would actually have a local pharmacy that had plant medicines with a trained herbalist, like a master herbalist, to dispense herbs that were grown and cultivated, grown, and crafted locally. They would be for sale along with their other medicines. It just makes sense. You're here, so I don't have to preach to you about why prevention medicine, I'm sure. Do you feel like you're in the right place? Okay, good. I'm going to start with a little bit of a virtual tour of some plants of our region. Then, as I said, about midway in the program, some of us, all of us, whomever wants to, we're going to take a hike and go look at actual plants in the wild. So if you have your notebooks or little plant journals, that'd be great. All right, something else. Michelle, could you have them? Thanks. These are actually contact sheets. I have a lot of articles, things that I could print off for you. I'm assuming most people are online. So that's how to get a hold of me on those worksheets with the websites. And then I'm passing around a little clipboard for those of you who want something special or just want to be on our e-list. So we'll get that out of the way. Okay, so let's see. Why gather? Why learn how to identify plants in your backyard or the woodlot by your place? Why do you want to do it? Why are you interested in being here? I want to hear from you.
It makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah.
No, we're human beings, and that we grew up along with them. It makes sense that they would have
Yeah.
access.
Yes.
It's free.
It's free?
Yeah.
Right, there's access right there. People had nice, clean, healthful soil and clean spaces. There'd be free access to food and at least some of the primary medicines. What else? Why do you want to learn about more plant medicine, some of you? I heard one person before our session started, and she said, I'm in a condo. I don't mean to be picking on you. I'm in the city. You're a city person, right? They won't let me garden. They won't let me garden, and I can have a container. Wasn't that the comment? I can have a container. Ooh, ouch. But you know what? The backyard or the community gardens, container gardening, even learning about the 3 or 5 wild plants right in your tiny little space like this is a good enough start. It really is. But what else? Why do you want to learn about plant medicines?
Well, those plants are readily available everywhere for us to use, and if we don't use them, it's just kind of waste.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really, they're sentient beings. The plants are, and they are waiting for us to interact and respond to them and engage with them. Play, recreation, for spiritual reasons, for food, and for medicine, for sure. What else? I mean, how do you feel when you've gone to buy a whole bunch of groceries? Or when you're finally done with your canning season, your pantry is set? How do you feel?
Rich.
Secure. So my session is also about food security. Food and plant medicine security. When my students or Michelle's students, have taken plant medicine classes and they learn how to make their own first aid kit, or have an herbal apothecary or pantry that is filled, or a medicine cabinet that they open up with all kinds of the essentials that have replaced many of the over-the-counter medicines, they feel really good. They have that same feeling inside, like, when your canning's done, your pantry or your freezer is all full. So it is about security. It's about food security on a personal, emotional, physical level, and it is also about food security on a community-wide level, a botanical medicine security level, on a community level and a global level. All right? Anything else? Is there any other reason why you want to learn about plants in the wild?
Well, if you look at any TV ad about a pharmaceutical product,
Schmeg.
I mean, they've got disclaimer, side effect, side effect, side effect, side effect, and you think to yourself, who would ever
Yes.
want to take these things.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, with plants, there are a lot of different compounds that work synergistically.
That's right.
And when they try to isolate those things synthetically, they lose a lot of that
Yes.
synergism. So it goes from being a whole food with the natural things to being a piece.
Yeah, and so Meg is talking about really a philosophical issue that is within the botanical medicine and the ethnobotany, economic botany fields. So there's a lot to that. That's a whole class, you know, and the whole cosmology of the plant medicine. Yeah, what else?
I just am really attracted to it because it's ancient wisdom.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
might be lost if people don't learn it. I like that connectedness to the earth. I think
Right.
is something that we have lost so much of.
Yeah, and that really with Herbalists Without Borders on the global level and local levels, that's one of our big focal points, you know, to make sure that we don't lose the library of wisdom, the elders, the healers who know all of this, and there already has been a lot of interruption with that, especially in a culture like ours. And then, you know, the actual plants themselves, my goodness, they've disappeared. Like, who knows wetlands? A couple of people in here know wetlands really well. Like, how do you know in Wisconsin what percentage of plants have already disappeared for good? Like wetland plants?
No.
It's like 40%. They're gone. Bye-bye. Done.
With a summer like this,
Yes.
probably more.
Yes. In fact, many herbalists right now, I mean, we can take note of the things that are happening with climate and on an energetic level with the plants. A lot of we master herbalists we're saying, oh my gosh, you know, we better take a look at invasives in a different way. We better take a look at plant succession and how things are changing and shifting. We best learn how to utilize those medicine plants that are dominant right now. There are others that are really hurting, disappearing. Okay, so plants are disappearing. When I mention United Plant Savers, or you perhaps went by that big print on the table, here's another book. This is a group that we've all been connected to at least through my school, and we're a group of herbalists, ecologists, farmers, doctors, even people who are saying we want to know what the local plants are, their uses, and if some of them have been hit pretty hard, we're going to take it easy on them. In fact, we're going to cultivate them. So you might be little plant savers in here. How many have cultivated echinacea or purple coneflower in their gardens? Good. You know, it really is a plant where I live part-time right now. It's far north of here, so it is not native to that area, but it would be in areas like the edges of Eau Claire, Pinebury, yes, of Eau Claire and west of here for sure. So you're doing a great job by planting all that echinacea. You shouldn't go out in the wild and harvest it. It's at risk. It's at risk. You should only be buying it from ethically cultivated sources or the stuff that you are growing on your own. But this book I'll refer to in a little bit, Planting Our Future. If any of you are feeling very passionate about restoring plants that were once here, like ginseng, native ginseng, right, in the woodland areas of the Great Lakes, golden seal, bloodroot, even trillium. Trillium is one that's on the to watch list. So those are all plant medicines. We need to really be caring for them. Now, do some of us utilize plants that are imported from far away? I've pretty much given it up. You'll see that I have some teaching examples, and I just came back from New Mexico, so I have yucca root and a few things like that for my trip when I visited my son. But I really discourage people from using imported herbs from far away. Why? Not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. It's not
You should
sustainable.
use local
That's
because
right.
it's part of our own environment. Can you explain that better?
Yeah,
I
I
know
will.
what you mean.
Well, I think that when Meg was describing the whole plant and the cosmology of the plant, you know, so many of us were taught in our upbringings or in educational systems that we are separate from. We are disconnected from nature. You know, now it's really changing for a lot of kids. Like, you know, the last Child in the Woods book by Richard Louv, No Child Left Inside movement, things like that are so vital to our well-being. But what Mary is asking is like, well, why? Because we're part of that. that system. You know, our bodies are comprised of the elements, and the plants are part of our ecosystem. You know, we are all connected. If we were to look at the shifts again in the climate, you know, our bodies change. I mean, we get totally hot and more dehydrated, whatever. The same thing is happening to the plants. So there may be plants that are producing more for a reason, for us. You know, there are all kinds of intuitive plant medicine pathways that you can study like that and practice. Okay, so I wanted to also just do a few minutes on where to do wildcrafting. I'm trying to cram a lot in here today. Where can you find these plants? First, how many are city dwellers in this group? Maybe about half. So we could have anyone from an apartment, city, urban dweller, all the way to, are there folks homesteading who have farms, organic farms, or living in the wild somewhere? Okay, well, I'm like city and wild. Got both things happening in my world. Okay, so I think that there's a little bit of something for everyone here today. One of the first things that I would ask you to do is just like get outside. Go look at your space. Just do an assessment of your space. You know, your backyard. And when you're looking at your backyard, you know, maybe you want to replace and encourage all kinds of native plants. I see that happening when I come back to Eau Claire. In one neighborhood by Dell's Pond years ago, I remember the only native plant yard in the city of Eau Claire, and those folks were always getting reprimanded. And now, you know, it's transforming so much. So you might want to just take a look at, well, what are my soil conditions? What kind of climate? How much waterfall? Do a really good, and what kind of shade trees do I have in my yard? You know, am I going to need shaded plants? What kind of plants will grow in my space? And if you don't know, there are plenty of resource people like through the extension office or folks like us. So do a really good assessment exercise. It's what I call my own little piece of Gaia, or the earth that I'm inhabiting right now. What's really going on in that little parcel of land that I'm on? And then select the right plants so you're not working against nature. All right? So what if you're the woman who said, I can't garden, they won't let me. Then what? What ideas do you have for her? I heard community garden. Find out, hook up there, belong to a CSA, a community supported or sustained ag program. Go to the farmers markets. You know, there are a lot of different creative options. What if you feel, well, how about the folks who are homesteading? What's going on at your place?
Lots of things.
Yeah.
I have berries, all the berries back in my backwoods. We have blackberries around the edges. I've been picking raspberries. I mean, my freezer's just full of all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And a huge garden. More weeds than good stuff. But the good stuff's in there.
It's in there,
Some
right?
weeds are good stuff too.
Yeah. They are. My plantain's growing great.
Yeah. Right. We'll look at some plantain today for first aid. Great, so a little bit of everything. That's how my year was last year.
I loved it.
I have this article that I wrote called Homeland Food Insecurity, and it was about food activism. It's in Countryside magazine from August 2011, if you're interested in it. It's a pretty long article, but it's really in-depth. It's like the long version of my talk today, the long version. And I have I don't only post questions and problems in it, but I list out a whole bunch of solutions for you too. So if that's something you'd like me to send you, email me and tell me that if you can't get your hands on it. Okay, and so where then? What if you're one of those people that's like in between? You know, you've started a little garden, or you've got a city garden. You maybe, what is your first name?
I'm Ernie.
Ernie? Oh, Ernie! My God, I didn't recognize you with the sunglasses on. Hello!
How are you? Long time.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long time. Good friends in the audience. So, if you're homesteading, you know, you might know an Ernie or a Michelle.
Exactly.
You might.
Friends.
So,
Yeah.
hook up with a circle of herbalists. I mean, just as you would go down to Phoenix Park in the Chippewa Valley and get to know the local farmers market vendors, we need to have more of that happening within the plant medicine realm as well. I'm hoping that there will be more herbalists with stands. I think Lisa from Simply Herbs is inside, and she's one of our past student graduates. So, you know, find out who those people are. you know, you can buy from them and rest assured that they're doing it ethically. And she really is. Lisa really is. Okay, or you could say, Ernie, or get online and email Michelle or call her or something and say, can a few of us come up and do wild crafting on your land? Could we do an exchange with you? Could I pay you? I don't know, you know, and they will say yes or no. I'm coveting all of those elderberries this year, and I just don't have enough. I'm making elderberry syrup for myself and jam. I really don't have much this year, I'm sorry. But you know what I've got a lot of? And women or men living on the land will tell you what they have a lot of. I really think this is an easy, localized way to start doing our plant medicine work. All right, that's another way. All right, then what do you do if you get out there? Or what if you just pull the car over? I call these people a ditch witch. What if you're a ditch witch? I use the terms. We've all been there. Yeah, I use the terms affectionately, but probably in this day and age, we really don't want to collect any of those plants on the side of the road because. Oh, right, all kinds of residuals and yucky stuff. So remember that.
But there are less traveled country roads.
Yes. That's right. You get to know the land. You talk to the local people. You get permission. You know, I mean, I wish it was all public land and we could do that. That's one of the problems in the U.S. We really can't forage and be true wilders. You know, if you're in Montana, I said, don't collect echinacea anyway. But if you're there, you're going to get fined $2,000 if you dig echinacea roots in the wild, okay? So, you know, there's some ethics about it. That's just on the legal permission and land property ownership level. But then what about other ethical levels? You know, just put your little green thinking caps on for a minute. Ditch witches.
Trespassing.
Yes, they're right. And then like parks, provincial parks in Canada, you know, any of our parks, we're not to do wild crafting, although I have asked, because I teach wilderness medicine as well, and first aid, what if it's a survival situation and you can? Not a simulated survival situation. If you're really needing some food or medicine in the wild, in a state park or provincial park, you can. All right, but what else? What other considerations do you have, or do you think there should be to be an ethical wild crafter, meaning you're going out and gathering plants in the wild for food or for medicine?
You don't want to take the mother plant?
Would you say some more about that, Michelle? And I'll sip my tea.
You got the microphone, dear.
Yeah, the mother plant.
Is a 1 in 20 rule apply here? Make sure that there's 20 plants before you harvest one plant, or 20 leaves before you harvest a leaf?
There are all kinds of answers to this question. That's why I want to answer it. But the best thing to do is get out there on your land or hook up with the Ernie and the group and really listen to her. You know, get to know what's going on with the weather, the climate changes, the plants. It might look like only take 1/3 of the plants, or the 1 in 20 rule, but they might be at risk. That might be lady slippers, and they're very much at risk. They were like the fainting drug from 1880 to 1940, and tons of it was exported to Europe. And it was, you know, the whole the plants are almost demolished in this region, in northern Wisconsin. So we wouldn't even take those. We probably wouldn't even take those. We would look at other substitutes like lemon balm in our garden, you know, or some of the wild St. John's wort, or maybe wood violets for more emotional balancing and relaxation. So we wouldn't even touch those plants. So what I'm saying is, you have to know the land, you have to know the plants, you really do. What else? So usually, like, there's the rule 1 in 20, only about 1/3. But if you're gathering morels, for example, that's different. You know, you want to be carrying a mesh bag so that the spores are falling through the netting as you're traipsing back out of the area, so that you are ensuring future generations of the morels. So there are many different aspects that you might want to take a look at there. So the best thing to do is grow a garden, start cultivating some of the plants that really belong in your area, get to know what you already have in your land in abundance, ask a master herbalist to come in and perhaps help you identify. Pick up some good books or field guides. I think I'll run around and hold up a few field guides. Sorry, Sean. Or take classes like this. Take as many plant walks as you can. There are, if I was to recommend probably one clinical book, this is different than a field guide. One clinical book on herbalism, a very comprehensive starter for any individual or family. It would be Rosemary Gladstar's Family Herbal. It's laid out in a developmental life cycle method. It's very lovely. So you're going to need something like this because some of the botany field guides will say, pardon me? No, we won't. Okay. Excuse me. Some of the field guides will say, don't use that plant. It's toxic. But in fact, it may be the roots that have a toxicity factor, but the leaves are used. I'll just say comfrey. Comfrey right now would be a good example. You can use the leaves quite vigorously, but the roots you really have to be careful of. There's a carcinogenic factor. So you need to have a clinical herb text if you're starting to do your backyard herbling. And then you need to have one or at least several different botany field guides, like an Audubon or a Peterson guide, something like that that fits for your ecosystem again. I've always loved teaching herbalism, like in the last 20 years in this area, because we have several different ecosystems of plants in this part of Wisconsin. We're kind of like on a fringe area because of the glaciers. So it's very exciting. You know, we have the pine barrens and the prairies, deciduous woodlands. We have some really interesting Arctic runners, I call them, Arctic plants in the bogs of the Ice Age area, and those are very different. So you might have a couple of different ecosystems where you live. Okay? So that's some on the ethics of wild crafting and some of the tools that you'll have to have. Now I'm going to do a little bit of show and tell with a few of the plants that should be in this area, like right, and mostly just a bit north of Eau Claire by the Ice Age area. These are plants that have been pretty much wiped out and we need to take care of. So I'd encourage you, if you are able to get to a plant sale or a native greenhouse or find some mail order source where you can find some of these plants, put them in. Encourage and invite them to come back in to the land where you live. Okay, let's take a look at a few. This little innocent one here, it's like a delicate little white flowering top, about like that. It's a woodland deciduous plant called bloodroot. Have you ever seen that one? All right, that's a really, what do you know about it, about bloodroot?
It grows by ginseng.
Yeah, yeah, in the native woodland areas around the Great Lakes, and this would be above the curve, really north of Eau Claire, but just north of Eau Claire, around the Ice Age Center and all the way up to Lake Superior. You would find golden seal, trillium around here, in some areas, yeah. Golden seal, the ginseng. This is bloodroot. Now bloodroot is used for skin cancer. And have any of you heard of that Essiax formula, the anti-cancer formula? Okay, it was an Ojibwa formula gifted and passed down to a Canadian woman healer years ago. You can find it in the markets, a tea or liquid formula. You could make it yourself. But when we dug into ethnobotany research, the bloodroot was actually in that original formula, and it is not any longer. So that's used for skin cancer. We've talked about this one. This looks very faded, but there are some examples around the gardens here at the Expo Center. It's purple coneflower, or echinacea. So what do you know about that one?
Good for colds.
Yeah,
Immune system stimulant.
Yes, it's an immune system stimulant, and you pretty much have to use it like a natural, like an antibiotic. You don't overuse it. You can't have a renegade immune system disorder. No HIV/AIDS. You know, there are many different contraindications. Yeah. So whenever you are looking at some of the herbs for kind of serious issues, good to talk to a clinical herbalist before you start using it. Yeah.
I read about this stuff.
The echinacea?
Well, a lot of herbs, but most of the time they never tell you if you're going to prepare something, what part of the plant, or how to go about it, and dosage.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I say, well, I won't pick on you about the sources. I'm sorry, but that's why
A good book.
yeah, it's really important to hook up with a clinical herbalist who's had training, because I will just give you or email you a list of the credible authors, and there are a couple of people immediately that I can think of that would tell you the doses. And we do as instructors. We have to teach our master herb students all of those things, but Rosemary Gladstar's book would be a good starter. There's a guy named Rico Check, who he's has a couple of the most premier medicine making books. So if you wanted to get into medicine making, I'd refer you to him, or you take some of our classes. Okay, just a few others. This is what golden seal looks like. That one, I'm still kind of floored when I go into health food stores. That should be about 45 minutes north of Eau Claire. Originally, we should have had a lot of that, but it was exported like mad to Europe. Development happened and wiped out, a lot of these beautiful understory stands of medicine plants. So golden seal, it's very expensive. Very expensive if you find it ground in a powder form. Let's see, what else do I want to show you? Oh, this one I just love, the wild calamus. You see that one? It looks like a wetland plant, doesn't it? I like to talk about this one because when we had plant students kayaking and canoeing in Dell's Pond in Eau Claire, umpteen jillion years ago, there were those little anybody paddled that area? You just kind of drive by it. You paddle it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now it has like the power lines over to, but in those nice little islands in Dell's Pond, I found a wild calamus. And this is a nervous system herb, a pretty heavy hitting one. It's like a nervous system sedative. So there was in Dell's Pond. So those are just a few.
I have a question. How do you tell the wild calamus from a cattail?
Oh, one of the easiest ways is the wild calamus looks like it kind of grows and shoots right out of the side of one of the sedge leaves, okay, rather than a big fuzzy wand at the top. Okay? Yeah. So those are just some of the primers. Wow, it's like the fast run with the ditch witch down the lane. But I'd love to just get you outside for a bit. So follow me. Follow me if you dare to. Some of you might just want to hang out. You won't feel up to going into the edge of the woodlot. That's fine. Thank you for coming. And I left a whole bunch of goodies on the table for you.
This program was recorded and presented by Chippewa Valley Community Television. Chippewa Valley Community Television is made possible by continuing community support. If you'd like to volunteer or make a donation, you can contact us by calling 715-839-5067 or on the web at www.cvctv.org.